Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to What a Ghoul Wants. My name is Anna if you're new here, and today we're doing a movie review. If you clicked on this video, you probably already know. It is for The Bride of the Killer Piñata. So I'll go ahead and just read the description of the film real quick just to give you an idea of what it's about. A sequel to the horror comedy beloved by hundreds. 10 years after finally defeating the Killer Piñata, Lindsay Goodman finds herself struggling with domestic life in the suburbs. When a new piñata arrives looking for help, the Killer Piñata awakes, mentoring her in his murderous ways and raining hell down on the suburbs. With her family in the crosshairs, Lindsay must rally the old crew one last time to send the Killer Piñata back to hell for good. And there's something very special about this movie review because it is the first movie that I was ever sent a screener for. I've never been sent a screener before. This is the first time it's ever happened. And it was really cool of my friend Ken from Sledgehammer Horror to send me this screener because he actually has a part in the film, which is very exciting. I'm so happy for Ken, and he does do a great job in his part, I will say. So I just wanted to start off with that and let you all know that it's the first screener I've ever seen, which is very cool. So this film is not yet out. It is playing in some festivals, I believe, some online film festivals, as well as I think some select theaters. So as of this recording, you cannot stream it anywhere, but I'm sure it will be coming to streaming relatively soon. So hopefully we'll get some information about that. And I do want to say that this is the sequel to The Killer Piñata, which was made in 2015. I don't think it was released until maybe 2017. So the production company is Angry Mule Films, and they are a small indie film production company located in Chicago. So I always love supporting small filmmakers, indie films, especially horror. This one would definitely be classified as horror comedy. So if that's something you're into, I would suggest checking it out when you can. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the first one, about Killer Piñata, and I will be kind of comparing the two in this review. So I did watch The Killer Piñata for the first time in preparation for this review. So I believe that one was made for about $3,000, which is pretty wild. It's such a low budget. It's definitely one where you can tell that it's low budget, obviously, with something like that. A couple $1,000s, you do what you can with that money. I do definitely commend them for trying such a high concept, having something where the antagonist is literally this inanimate puppet type object. So with that, I feel like they do a pretty good job with the budget they're given. It is kind of goofy. There are a lot of very silly moments. It's a pretty self-aware film. There's a lot of strange sexual stuff happening as well. So yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know about that too. They definitely tone that down in The Bride of the Killer Piñata. But yeah, so the basis of it is, it's very Child's Play-like. You'll see a little bit of a through line between the first movie and Bride of Killer Piñata. Obviously, the name in and of itself is very reminiscent of Bride of Chucky. But essentially, the character of the Killer Piñata is very similar to Charles Lee Ray in that it was this man who, in the context of the Killer Piñata, I believe he worked in a piñata factory, and he died there, and his soul went into the nearest inanimate object, which obviously just happened to be a piñata. So in that way, it is very reminiscent of Child's Play. And in the sequel, he meets his little piñata girlfriend. So again, it's like a Bride of Chucky, where Chucky meets Tiffany. So yeah, it is interesting how they're referencing some other horror films in that way. And it does definitely have this combination of humor and horror that the Child's Play franchise has. So if you noticed that connection, you are correct in thinking it is a direct reference to the Child's Play franchise. So yeah, essentially in the original one, the piñata goes around killing people, enacting his revenge on the human race. So the second one is just a continuation of that story, and it really focuses in on one particular character. So as far as crossovers between the first and the second, I believe there are only 3 characters that return in the sequel, but the main focus is on one of the main characters from the first one, who is also the protagonist of the second, and her name is Lindsay. And Bride of Killer Piñata is very interesting in that it focuses on relationships are a big theme in it, and the main relationship is between Lindsay and her wife. So it centers on a queer relationship, a queer marriage. So I was really excited to see that that was a major part of this film, because you don't get a lot of that kind of representation in films in general, but also in horror. So that was really cool to see. And it's basically Lindsay and her wife, who had fought the Killer Piñata throughout several years, I guess. You get all this backstory in the very beginning, as well as a recap of the original. So you could honestly skip Killer Piñata, because you get a whole rundown of what happens in it at the beginning of Bride of Killer Piñata, as well as some additional information that we didn't see in that film. So basically, they go throughout their relationship, fighting this piñata, and finally defeat it, or so we think. And then they go on to live a normal, boring, kind of stereotypical married life. So we kind of see their relationship and how it changes throughout the film as well. And that kind of leads me into something that I do think that Bride of Killer Piñata did better than Killer Piñata, and that is character development. You get a lot more character development in this movie, I feel. There's a lot more happening with the characters in particular. You really get a feel for them more, a feel for who they are as people and what they want in life, and how they change over the course of the film. So I was pleasantly surprised to see that that was something that they kind of improved upon in the sequel. So I forgot to mention this earlier when I was talking about the budget of Killer Piñata, but the budget for Bride of Killer Piñata was around $17,000. So it was a huge increase compared to the $3,000 that Killer Piñata was made for. And I definitely think that you can tell the difference in the quality of the filmmaking. I think that it looks a lot better than the first one. I think that the editing and the cinematography definitely improved from film to film, as well as a lot of the effects. I think that the effects in Bride of Killer Piñata are pretty damn effective. There are some pretty good gore scenes, some pretty good kills, as well as the actual characters of the piñatas themselves. I think that they more so perfected the way that the puppets move. I think that they're just hand puppets, I'm pretty sure. And then they probably also have, just standalone piñatas that they kind of move around. And in the first one, it kind of felt a little bit more stiff as far as the movements of the piñata went. But in Bride of Killer Piñata, they really feel like real characters. Like, I almost forget that they're puppets when I'm looking at them and when they're interacting with each other, because Killer Piñata and his bride, they'll have long stretches of conversations between each other where they kind of do these weird grunts, but you see subtitles on the screen to see what they're saying to each other. And in those moments, it really does feel like two characters are talking to each other, and it's not just two puppets kind of moving around. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it as well. I also think that the humor in Bride of Killer Piñata plays a lot better than in the first one. There are a lot of genuinely funny moments, sometimes where I really did laugh out loud, and it being billed as a horror comedy, of course, you're always hoping to have some really good laughs as well as some really good scary moments. So I wouldn't necessarily say I was scared by this film at all, but like I said, they had some good kills and the horror aspects of it were pretty good. There is a little segment that kind of diverts from the tone of the film. It's in a flashback flashback. I don't want to give too much away, but it feels very much like a slasher film, and I thought that was really effective as well. So they were really getting the tone down better in this one, and like I said earlier, Ken, he did a really good job. He had this really funny line that he delivered, and that was one that I definitely chuckled at. So I definitely think the actors are all putting in all their best effort. I think they're doing a really good job overall. Everyone's really committed to their character, and they play off each other very well too. So overall, I will say that I did really enjoy the film. You gotta know going in what it's about. It's a low budget horror comedy where there's a killer piñata. So if you go in with that in mind, you kind of know what you're getting into. I will say that I would probably say you can skip the first one. I did not like it as much as Bride of Killer Piñata, and like I said, you do get that recap in the very beginning of the sequels where you kind of just see the whole movie play out. So if you'd just rather do that and skip right to the sequel, I will say you will not be missing anything. You get the backstory you need, and you can just dive right on in to this really goofy and really fun horror comedy. This would be a really good one to watch with friends, kind of have a group of people over, have some popcorn, have some drinks, and throw it on and just have a good time. I just wanted to say thank you again to Ken of Sledgehammer Horror for sending me this screener. It was so cool of him, and if you aren't aware of him or his YouTube channel, please go check out Sledgehammer Horror. He has excellent content over there. He is always pumping out new stuff. So I will go ahead and link his channel in the description. So please go and subscribe to him. If you liked this review, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And also let me know in the comments if you've seen the Killer Piñata, what you think about it. I did watch it on Tubi. So right now in the US, it is currently streaming for free on Tubi with ads. So you can go ahead and check it out on there. And hopefully we will be hearing soon about how we can stream Bride of Killer Piñata. I will probably go ahead and add in the description once it is actually released on streaming where you can find it. So yeah, that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a great day, and we'll talk horror next time.